Okay, welcome back to Pouur Decisions. And I am so excited to be with Tracy Burnett, and we're at Michi Lifestyle. You can see from the background just like some amazing pieces. It's beautiful in here, and I will be taking everybody on a tour to like see everything. But okay, Tracy, tell us how you got started with Michi Lifestyle. Like, what was the inspiration behind it?
So prior to opening Michi Lifestyle in 2021, I was traveling from coast to coast. We have a couple companies that I had worked for. And my intention when I had downtime in the evenings was to visit other small businesses in the area, independently owned restaurants and things of that nature. So I would stay in locations that were walkable, hotels that were in walkable areas in different cities. And I just maybe subconsciously felt really inspired by conversations that I would have with strangers and people that I would meet in the restaurants and, other shop owners. And when COVID came along, those positions ended. And, I kind of sat idle for a while and thought about what I wanted to do. And ultimately, this was it. And it became somewhat of a culmination of all of those feelings that I had or inspirations that I felt when I was out on the road.
Okay.
The one thing that was missing from my life at the time, though, was a connection with people in my community. And so it was really important for me to establish that for me personally, but also, professionally in the community, building the shop. And it's really become my heart and soul entirely, because we have so many of our customers that come in on a regular basis, of course, to shop, but also to talk about ideas or challenges that they're having in their homes. And, my end-all be-all goal in having those conversations is to allow a person to explore, their comforts, what makes their homes comfortable to them.
Mm-hmm.
When I would come home from these corporate travels, leaving on Monday, coming home on Friday, an Uber would bring me back from the airport, and when the Uber would pull into my driveway, I would just get this big smile on my face, because I knew that there was comfort waiting for me.
Right.
Security, it's safe.
Because your home was like that comfort and safety. And okay.
And that's really what I wanted to translate when I built this space. So when you walk into Michi, the ceilings are really high, but it feels somewhat cavernous because we painted all the walls black.
Mm-hmm. I get that feeling. I feel what you're saying.
And it feels, some folks might feel like, the color choice is cold, but it actually creates a lot of warmth because we include really warm tones in the decor that we selected, and elements of wood and a lot of texture.
Yeah.
So it really kind of proves the belief that when you use darker tones, you can create something that's more of a nest.
Yes, rest. So, well, it feels very, homey and inviting in here, and I think it's beautiful.
I do too.
And I could see, like, even this couch when I first saw it, I was like, oh, I could definitely have this, like, in my living room. I love this setup. Absolutely.
It's then the set, and that's intentional as well, because we want our customers, our visitors, our guests to be able to visualize, what it might look like in their homes.
Yep.
Yeah. And we do offer styling services as well, because, again, visualization is a challenge for a lot of people. And it's a challenge for me. Like, for me too. It does take me some time to think creatively, and I have to give myself that time to be able to create a space. Okay, whether it's for a client or whether it's for a display here in the store, it just doesn't pop out. I really have to think it through, and I love the pleasure of that process. I love it because, I love the mystery of not knowing yet what it will become until it becomes it.
Right.
So I had really tapped in to my creative side that I kind of didn't know that I had, or I just, I ignored it maybe.
Suppressed it.
Yes, yeah, right, for sure. But yeah, it's been a really great journey, and I love it. It's a lot of fun.
I can imagine. So the name. How did you come up with Michi Lifestyle?
Well, Michi, if you look it up in the Urban Dictionary, it has a really fun definition. And it's not bad, promise. It's like when we talk about him, you think bad. Yeah, it's there he is. But it's the definition in the Urban Dictionary says something along the lines of someone who is carefree, fun, and someone you like to be around. And I didn't know that actually until after I named the store and opened it. But that's kind of fun. The name itself, though, originates as a playful nickname from Michelle, and that's my middle name. And, it is this place, and what we do is definitely a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle of, feeling comfortable in a space and, kind of just making it your own.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So how do you source the different items that you have in here? Was that something that you got inspiration from your travels?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. We wanted to make sure that whatever products we brought in here were carefully selected. Mm-hmm. Certainly for their aesthetic, but also for their sustainability, their quality, the values that we approach our purchasing from really begin with, minority-owned business owners that we purchase from, women-owned businesses, small businesses that produce their items in small batches. So, we certainly don't want to offer something that's not unique. And so we tend to stay away from mass-produced products, items that are sold on Amazon. We want this experience here to be something that somebody truly owns. Did you ever go to a dance, like school dance, homecoming or prom? And the one thing, it would be the most dreadful nightmare for a woman who's they have the same dress. Yes, yeah. And oh my gosh, no, that could never happen. And but back in those days, you went to a store and you hope that nobody else gets it. Why you? Right. And I think it's maybe kind of stems from that I always wanted to have something that was uniquely mine, and you can make these things. You can thrift up. You can, find something that's not mass produced, and it doesn't have to be expensive. It can. But I would say that the one element that's really important is time, because it does take time not only to discover what you want, what makes you happy, but to find that right piece, the right size, of course, the right dimensions, things like that. And if there's an opportunity to slow that down, I mean, we do have needs that you need fulfills. I understand that, but there's possibility to take the time and look, see, touch, smell. Then that's one of the key elements of what we're about.
Okay, and people can definitely look, see, and touch, sit, and really experience what they're going to put in their home at this place.
Yeah, and I love it when people come in with their kids, their dogs, and it's just really the element of truly living that is important. when we first expanded into this space, we had this beautiful, we had a beautiful bench. And these two ladies came in and they had their coffees and they were walking around a little bit. And I came into this room and I said, "Hey, you guys doing okay?" And they said, "Yeah, we're fine. We're just away from our kids and away from our husbands and we're just catching up. Is that okay?" And I was like, "Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you feel good in this space, then I've done my job and then we're all happy." It was a really nice moment. Yeah.
It's awesome. And what you're creating in this, how did you pick Lakewood to bring is it because the vibes of Lakewood matched what your envision was within the this shop? And
I think Lakewood has a lot of diversity and uniqueness to it, and I really felt comfortable here. I've lived here for 22 years now. So, I wanted to be close to my business and I wanted to be able to provide something to the community, like I mentioned before, and be more involved.
yeah.
So, it's grown from me just opening the door to expanding, working with our neighbors on this block. Shout out to everybody on the Detroit Avenue block here. But the other businesses here have been insanely helpful. They're run well and they care about their community as I do. But if we have time for a quick story, please, listeners, come to Lakewood for an event or a pop-up rather called Home for the Holidays.
Okay.
And my neighbor across the street is the one who runs it.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew that I wasn't working after COVID happened and I had lost my job. And she said, "Well, what are you up to now?" And I said, "Well, I've given open up a home decor store." She's like, "Oh my God, that's great. Good news." Yeah. So what is it going to be? And I said, "Well, I don't know that yet. I'm kind of looking around at different places." And our original location here in the space right next door had been a yoga studio. And it had closed with COVID, and she was using it for Home for the Holidays because she chooses a vacant storefront here in Lakewood, rents it for a few months and sells locally made holiday items. And she said, "Well, I've got this space. It's going to be available in January after the holidays." And the weird thing, Cherise, was that it was exactly as I had envisioned this case to be. I envisioned having a space on a corner, area, and this is really high profile. It's a popular intersection for traffic,
Right.
But there's a ton of visibility,
Right.
and obvious visual marketing. So. Anyway, it felt so organic and so meant to be, and I guess truly that's the power of speaking to your neighbors and having a conversation and just
Stories. Yes, to connect, the connection.
right.
Because without that, you would have never found out about the space.
Yes.
And then it's in alignment with what you're looking to do with the business anyway.
Yeah.
To be able to provide, additional connection into the community and all. So it started with that, before that conversation, but you getting to know your neighbor, and then it translated into the business opportunity.
Yeah, and that's one other aspect of this that I love talking about is, small business owners sometimes feel lonely because they're handling so much. And one of the things that I'd experienced in opening this place is that there's such a great community of people that want help, want to welcome you. I don't run this on my own. My fiance, Josh, he helps me tremendously. So shout out to Josh. Thanks, Josh. And again, the other neighbor businesses here, I don't I don't feel lonely. I don't. I mean, everybody's just been great, and I don't know. I couldn't do it without that community.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, the Lakewood community too is known for being very just open, accepting, and welcoming to either businesses. So I can see how you fit in very well.
Yeah, it's I learn every day.
Yeah.
And a lot of that learning comes from being a board member for the Lakewood Chamber and volunteering for Keep Lakewood Beautiful. Working on different ideas with Lakewood Alive and, again, other small business owners. It's been, an incredible journey so far.
So what type of legal aspects what kind of legal aspects did you find that you encountered when you were starting the business or even thinking about, opening it up here? What were the legal? Did you hire an attorney? Did you do it on your own or?
Well, I didn't think of a lot of things.
And we're never able to think of everything.
We got the keys in January, and we just went full speed ahead, just painting, taking down the drop ceiling, getting the display pieces in, setting all that up, and so I think there were things that I learned in that process that I then implemented when we expanded. And when we expanded, I looked at this new contract, this new lease, and I didn't hire an attorney, but I did consult with one. One of my
very important to definitely use attorneys. As an attorney, I highly recommend it. It's say, yes, find someone that can help you look over a lease, look over a contract.
Yes, make sure it's in your best interests for what you want to be doing. I mean, I rent this space, so I don't own the building. Ideally, that would be great, if I owned a building that my business is in. But, we had the lease agreement reviewed and by a contract attorney, and it's only 3 pages. It's very simple. And, she gave her stamp of approval, and then we forward. So that was really the only thing that, I've been lucky in that's the only thing that I really needed an attorney for. But I would say if I were to go back in time and make a change, I would retain an attorney. And having that attorney understand your business, understand your struggles, understand the what ifs of the business is really important. And then, maybe having them involved too in your exit strategy. Right? What's going to be my exit strategy when I'm ready to retire, or, in the case where I pass away, what happens to the business? I mean, that's certainly an important component of.
It is. And that is something that is often very much overlooked, like succession planning.
Yes.
Because, do you want this, to live on after you, and in what capacity? Or is it going to shut down because you're no longer, running it anymore? And who's going to be taking over? How do you want that process to go? Those are things that, yes, can be set up ahead of time.
Yeah, just like, you would do with estate planning, right? You want to make sure that your baby business is cared for,
right?
And right in respect, so
it can live on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, those are some good things and good advice. So if you're listening, definitely have a plan in place, exit strategy in place. Think about that now when you're first starting, because it's also going to help guide you in terms of, the route that you want to say. Because some people just get in, they open up their business and they're like, I don't know, I guess I'll just work it till I die. But then if you have a plan, you're like, okay, in 10 years, I want my kids to take over, or, that kind of thing. Because it gives you some guidance and direction too. which is good.
Yes, it's important. Yeah, and it relieves, I think, a certain level of stress. You know, I mean, if you know the answers to and you've got the coverage for something that should happen, and things happen,
They do.
so it just helps to release some of that stress of the idea.
Yeah. And we deal with enough as business owners. If we can alleviate some of the stress, so definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, when you thought about, which building to go to and everything, did you look at a lot of different places, or was it just that your neighbor, because she told you about this one, that this was the only one you looked at?
So I looked at some places in Lakewood. I looked at a few places and had some conversations about a couple of locations in Rock the River.
Okay.
And I wasn't too far into the exploration of it when I had the conversation with my neighbor. And when I realized that it could be a for sure thing, I jumped all over it. So even though she was in the midst of building out a home for the holidays in this location at the time, I sat down with the landlord, and this was in 2020, and we talked about it. I talked about my business plan. He is a gentleman who owns a few buildings in Lakewood and cares about what tenants he brings into the spaces. And he wanted to make sure that I had thought through my business plan and what I want to do. And
because he wants to protect himself, and I have to potentially evict you in 2 months because you're like, oh, I didn't really think this through, and this isn't a good idea anymore.
Oh, well, honey, you've been in Cleveland for a few years. Then, you know of probably a couple of places that are, have been vacant for a long time. And if you're looking for space, okay, well, why has that place been vacant for a long time? Is it jinxed? Is there no parking? Literally, some people have said about certain locations, that, it's just, I don't know, has bad juju or something. I don't know.
Yeah, those are things to think about, though, because people are coming and they're like, it's snowing. I don't want to have to get out of my car 9 blocks down and walk to you.
Yes. But yeah. So, there's a lot of considerations that go into making that choice. But, in this particular case, the reason that it was vacant was because of COVID. And there had been a very successful yoga studio here. And then it was purchased by another yoga studio owner. And, when COVID happened, he wasn't able to host any classes. So it just, it didn't make any sense. And Home for the Holidays built their pop-up here. And I actually worked it. So I got to spend time in the space. So that was a nice luxury. And then after that, we got keys and went to work.
That's awesome. Now, what about a poor decision that you have made in the business, wherever, getting started or once you were open, that you were able to bounce back from still and, still be successful? Because we always like to share that just as inspiration to everyone.
Yes, inspiration. I'll give you some right now. I felt like I was doing what was right by signing up for QuickBooks so I could get all my accounts organized, and I hooked up our bank accounts to it, and everything kind of just automatically was filed in QuickBooks. And then when it was time, I would send my files or give my accountant access to my QuickBooks.
Okay.
And he would do my tax preparation. And I said, okay, that box is checked.
Right. I did everything that I'm done. I'm done. That's good.
And I didn't realize that tax preparation is not the same as really understanding your numbers, your P&L statement, your balance sheet, it's very important to know those things. And that was something I wasn't doing. So just so the audience knows, Charisse and I both graduated from the same cohort in the Goldman Sachs 10K SD program. And a portion of the curriculum is understanding your financial statement. So in learning that, and certainly being inspired to dig deeper and be able to make better financial decisions for my small business, I wanted to hire a bookkeeper.
Right. Because you did not have one.
I did not have one, and that was my Forbes decision.
You were the bookkeeper, but you weren't doing the bookkeeper.
Yeah, I paid myself as a bookkeeper. And I joined the Lakewood Chamber of Commerce. I met Terry Harrison and Associates, and she has just really taken such a deep dive into my numbers and has guided me through it, really helping me to understand where the weaknesses are, where the strengths are, right? How to interpret these things. So it's a process. I mean, I know that I know my personality type and I know what I'm good at, and I dial up my focus on things that I'm not good at. And as uncomfortable as it may be, I make a considerable effort to try to understand and work through all these numbers. I want to omit. I just want to create. I don't want to create a spreadsheet, but I want to create what's in this store. I want to, design beautiful spaces, but that's something that has to be done, whether it's by us, business owners, or by someone you hire as a bookkeeper. And I will say this: if you're worried about a budget, about paying a bookkeeper, like I was like, I can handle it. It's not as expensive as you might think, and it will save you sanity. It's a small fee to pay for your sanity. So that was my poor decision. And the weird thing is that I had heard this from other business owners, like, oh, okay, let's keep it right out of the date. And I still didn't do it again, because, well, in Aquarius. I'm going to blame my zodiac sign on that.
I mean, the one thing that, and these are lessons that we all learn too, is that we get so wrapped up and involved with, opening and setting up and marketing and, just being out in the community, things like that. And then it's sometimes the little small things, the non-sexy things, stats we forget about or just push to the side, like, okay, I'll take care of them later. I'll take care of that later. And then it compounds, and then later becomes like, oh my.
It compounds. Yes, absolutely. It sure does. And that was one of the things that Terry and I, when we met this morning, that was one of the things she said, these small business owners, they just, they might not have a strong understanding of it, but then there's also, if they avoid it, I did, then it becomes bigger.
Yes.
And then there's a lot more work involved. So,
and it costs, it's more work, costs more. You wind up having to pay whatever professional you're using, whether it's the accountant, the CPA, the, attorney, whoever, more money. And that you just bit the bullet at the beginning.
Budget, people, budget.
Yeah. And just put it in the budget plan for, to spend, to have the professionals do that and work for you.
Yeah, consider the needs. Consider the priorities, the needs from the very beginning, and then your budget and how those two can work together.
Yes. Oh yeah. That is key.
Yeah.
That's key.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is that, when we did this build out expansion, I would get quotes for some of the construction that you needed to do, and one of the things that I didn't take into account as strongly as I should have was the cost of inventory to fill it. I mean, that was something that was a miss for me. I mean, it sounds obvious. I feel like that. It's so insanely obvious, but I think again, I was handling all this on my own, and and maybe my pea brain only has so much capacity for something. I don't know, but there's again, it's owning a business is like you're learning, even if it's a business that you grew up with, that your parents started. The world changes around us, right, all the time, every second of every day, and so there's always new things to learn and respond to,
right? Yes.
So I think the thing to know about Pouur Decisions is that we have to give ourselves some grace and definitely learn from them, because I think it's a poor decision if we don't learn from them.
Yes, absolutely. Learn from them and realize that we're going to keep making them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be something new. If we've learned from the first time, then we don't repeat that same poor decision, ideally, because we've learned from it. And so we just make new ones. But every single time we're making that decision and growing, then we're getting better. And then our business gets better. And then we just, get better as individuals. And it all works out. So that is awesome. The poor decision turned into a good decision, and Michi Lifestyle is wonderful, and you're thriving. And one thing I did want to talk about too was the inventory that's inside of this location. That that's one thing when you're budgeting, definitely to take into consideration is that this couch is amazing, but right now, until it sells, it's an item on your spreadsheet that is like, this cost me money. And until it sells, I haven't made anything from us. So being able to really balance that, have you found a way to be able to do that better?
I think one of the ways that we've discovered that we can be better is by going with our values that we talked about last time, looking for unique pieces that are cleanly made, ethically made, sustainable, and go with those.
Okay.
In the early days, you might recall when COVID happened, all these containers were just sitting in forks, and people couldn't get their hands on them. And so I'm not going to lie, you're slightly desperate, and we just wanted these pieces. But what would happen is that these pieces would arrive to us. They weren't perfect. Sometimes they were damaged, and we couldn't get replacements.
Oh,
and so we would have to really take a hit on some of these things because we're selling something to somebody that was imperfect.
Yeah,
I'd have to take a hit on our profits.
Yeah,
and I for me, it wasn't a good look. I didn't like presenting that to our audience, because one of the things that we talked about earlier was trust. You can't just open your doors and hope that people trust you when you're just a stranger. And so that hurt me. In my heart, for real. Like it made me so uncomfortable. And so we were able to find other vendors that could provide us, who believed in that same thing.
Okay,
that they want to offer a product it's beautiful, unique, functional, sustainable, and we've done that. So that's been a big change for us since then. Okay, we let that ride because we couldn't, in the beginning, we couldn't control it. So, right. After gaining control of that situation, then we were able to provide something that is certainly more in demand.
Yes. And hey, that was an opportunity to learn, because you could have stayed in that and just kept operating that way. But the fact that you recognized it and recognized too that didn't match the values and all that you had. So you were willing to change it up and do something different. And that's great.
Yeah. We're really happy. And the feedback that we get from our customers has been phenomenal.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, I did nice. I love all the pieces in here. And we want to toast to great decisions with the business and Pouur Decisions with our wine. So we are drinking a rosé, a Portuguese rosé. It is Casa Santos Lima, and we'll make some poor decisions with this wine. So, cheers to Michi Lifestyle.
Thank you. And cheers, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time.